Rajeev Kapur, welcome to Partnering Leadership. I am thrilled to have you in this conversation with me.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I I look forward to getting some of your thoughts and insights on generative AI specifically. You've written a book, done a second edition of it, AI Made Simple. But before we get to generative AI and its impact on organizations, Rajiv, would love to know a little bit more about you. Whereabouts did you grow up, and how has your upbringing impacted the kind of person you've become?
Thank you. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. I was born and raised here in Southern California. I've been a technology geek and nerd pretty much my whole life, my whole career. My first job was 100% commission sales working for an old computer company called Gateway. You might remember with the cow spotted boxes.
Yes.
So that was out in South Dakota. And so I moved out there from Southern California. That was crazy. And talk about cold and dark and snowy and horrible weather. That was probably the ultimate you could get. But it was a good experience. You were there for 2 years and I built up my resume. And I tell young kids all the time, you have to go to the job. I went to the job. And that, quite frankly, if I hadn't done that, I don't know if I'd be standing here today because from there, I got recruited to Dell. And not only did I get recruited to Dell, I got recruited to be one of Michael Dell's first executive assistants back in like 1994. So you can see how sometimes you have to take a risk and bet on yourself. And that's what I did by going to Gateway first, then eventually making my way to Dell. And I was at Dell for about 12 years. First 7 odd years, I was in Austin, Texas. Then ended up going to Asia for Dell for a big chunk of time, helping to get Dell China going, Dell South Asian markets, ran that for a while, helped to launch Dell India from a domestic consumption perspective. So just a lot of Dell experience. And that's where I really grew up and learned my skills. And then from there, I was recruited to be president of an e-commerce company back here in Southern California. Ran that business for 3, 4 years. And then I got recruited to be the CEO of an audio technology company that we were actually building technology using AI back then. It was all machine learning AI, not generative AI, obviously. But that's the thing that I don't think people understand. There's really two kinds of AI. There's machine learning AI and the generative AI side. And so we were building audio algorithms on the machine learning AI side, and we ended up selling that business. Eventually, the technology we were working on eventually became a lot of what Apple Spatial Audio is today. So the whole idea of 3D surround sound in your head through AirPods and these kind of things is what we essentially built. And so I did that, and then after I sold that business, and for the last 10 plus years, I've been CEO of a B2B marketing and media technology company. And we cover on the B2B side, we're very much a media and events play. And we cover from a media perspective, B2B big data, B2B AI, B2B cloud, B2B cybersecurity. How we make money is primarily through events, education, training, do a lot of B2B lead gen, newsletters, webinars, those kinds of things. And when ChatGPT came out, I remember laying in my bed on November 30th, 2 years ago. And I remember falling out of my bed because after I sold that AI company, I took some courses at MIT to get certified in AI from MIT. And so I was somewhat in the AI space and understand it, used it, understand how it works. But the generative AI stuff was all brand new to me. Like I didn't know. And when it came out, it floored me. It caught me by surprise. It's like caught a lot of people by surprise when OpenAI released ChatGPT and how it went viral. And so immediately, literally that next day, I started writing the first edition of the book because in my mind, it was every single person on the planet is going to have to get trained in AI, period. There's no choice. You just have to learn it.
Now, you've been in technology for almost your entire career, different aspects of it, different organizations. I'd also been fascinated with aspects of AI pre GPT. When I saw GPT, I was also floored, saying our world and knowledge work is going to change drastically. A little more than 2 years have gone by, and it's incredible how many organizations I see that are dabbling but haven't really thought through the potential implications of generative AI. And you specifically mentioned, and I agree, it's just one aspect of AI technologies which can be transformative. Why do you think that is?
There's a couple of things. And number one, there's no silver bullet with the tools yet. Number one. Number two is it's still early, right? So if you think of this as the baby, as the tools as a baby, the baby is still in the crib. It's not even crawling yet. So there's that piece of it. And it's not super instinctive in terms of where you can potentially see efficiency gains. There's a lot of fear to be used when it comes to AI in an organization still. Hey, if we start using AI, are people going to lose their jobs? Am I going to lose my team? Whatever the case might be. So there's some of that fear going on. But I think ultimately this is just, it's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when. And it's really more of a matter of what are those tools that are going to come out in the next 24 months? Because remember, usually the investment lags the opportunity. So right now there's anywhere over the next couple of years, 200 to 300 billion dollars being invested in the AI space. So if you think about all the new companies that are going to be coming out over the next 12 to 24 months that were in incubation over the last 24 months, all these Y Combinator companies, all these new companies that are coming out, these companies that are coming out are going to be the new Ubers, new Airbnbs. If you think about your iPhone, like it was, we had the iPhone 1. It wasn't really until iPhone 6 or 7 where you start seeing really good daily comprehensive life-changing use cases because it was powerful enough to handle all the data processing that needed to be done. The same thing is going to be here, right? I'd argue that there's also already life-changing and business-changing opportunities. It's a matter of how do you use it, how do you deploy it, and how do you start taking advantage of it. But it's not just on the Gen AI side, it's also on the machine learning side. And if anything, I think what needs to happen is I think CEOs, number one, needs to develop a strategy and implement that top-down strategy and really mandate it across the organization. The only thing I can tell you for sure, the only thing I can guarantee is that in the next 5 years, people and companies that don't use AI are going to get replaced by people and companies that do use it. Right now, again, I said 5 years. If you think about how processing develops, and if you think about it, our laptops, our phones by 2030 are going to be 10 trillion times smarter than they are today. Right now, ChatGPT has a high school level of education. By end of next year, it's at a PhD level of education. That's 2025, 2026, right? So it's just going to get smarter. So these use cases, they're going to start coming out. Start seeing more and more people use it. It's just a matter of time. And there's usually a lag of a period by the time the investment makes, by the time the companies come out. It's going to be like the internet, right? If you think about the internet, there was like 10 search companies before Google really took off, right? You remember things like GeoCities or whatever the case might be, right? So you'll see some short-term applications, tools, and they'll give away to bigger opportunities. And it'll transform it from a business perspective, CRMs, marketing, HR. I think law firms are in for a big rude awakening in the future, right? So things of that nature. So I think some of those things will be there. You're starting to see some use cases, for example, in healthcare, you're starting to see where AI is starting to be deployed for triage. You're starting to see where AI is being used to scan breast cancer images or cancer images because doctors and radiologists get tired and it can catch things better than them. But and this is not just about AI. You're going to see a blend, a marriage of AI and robotics and IoT over time. And so I think that's where it's headed, but it's going to take some time. And we're probably still 12 to 24 months away from it really having big, huge impact, but you got to start now. You have to start now. You can't you can't do nothing. And even if you're using it to create LinkedIn jobs or HR, whatever things, or have to analyze, you can take it right now, use the advanced data analysis feature. Like one of the things I do is I'll use it to analyze asset purchases. So I'll take an asset purchase agreement for my company, a buyer division to sell, put them in there and have it compare the red light versions or whatever, what's changed, what's different, little things like that. People, your finance teams can start putting in there to help give trend analysis through Excel, those kinds of things, or whatever it might be. So you can start using it now, that you have to just be willing to be open-minded about the tools and what's available.
And that's what I would love to get some of your thoughts on there, Rajiv. First of all, as you mentioned, I am right outside of DC. Most of my clients are DC based and DC region. Inside the Beltway, we have more than 70,000 attorneys and a lot of law firms. And I think many of them have no clue what is about to hit the sector, partly also as a result of the potential capabilities that it provides everyone, including what you just mentioned, as well as the way they typically bill clients, the hourly rates, all of those things are going to be challenged. Now, as executives or CEOs are listening to this, Rajiv, and you talk to them, they say, okay, I buy it. 2 to 3 years from now, the world is going to be transformed. You're telling me to be strategic. So, what should they do in trying to be strategic? Because this technology is moving at a super fast pace. They have their ongoing operations, all the details, all the deals, all the strategies they have to worry about. How would you guide them to think about AI, generative AI, and the robotics, Internet of Things, all of those connecting and pursuing a robust strategy with respect to that as well?
That's a good question. And I think the number one thing they have to do is get their handle around their first party data. The number one thing they have to do, the number one thing every CEO is listening to this podcast, you don't have to listen to me. But what I'm telling you is if you want to be successful in the future, you have to get your handle around your own data. And then let me give you an example. So I'm a big baseball fan, right? And I have my little LA Dodger baseball fan, whatever, baseball here. And so the reason why I bring this up is there's a company called Traject, Trajekt, Traject AI. And these guys have built a pitching machine. They use baseball as an example because everybody knows baseball here, US primarily. And and everybody knows a batting cage. A lot of people have been in a batting cage. People have kids who play baseball. They played baseball as kids. So they understand that. They understand that pitching machine. So they've built an AI and robotics pitching machine. This pitching machine has taken the data. In order to be successful, first it needed the data. It took the data of every single pitcher that's ever pitched, every pitch they've ever thrown, every scenario you could possibly think of. They have the data and they programmed this pitching machine. So there's a Dodger player named Mookie Betts, right? He was an MVP. He did really well and he was struggling. So he basically went into a machine like this and he said, okay, I'm going to pitch against this pitcher, Garrett Cole for the Yankees or whatever it might be. Here's the scenario. Here's the count. And I've been really struggling hitting his curveball. I just want you to throw me curveballs by this pitcher, Garrett Cole. And the machine will simulate exactly pitching. And the ball actually comes out of the screen. It's not virtual. So an actual ball comes out of the screen and it's thrown exactly the way Garrett Cole, the pitcher from the Yankees, would throw the ball. Exactly. But in order for that, and that's all AI, because it took all the data to create that algorithm to be able to do. That's the low hanging. The low hanging fruit is going to be in the machine learning data sets if you own your own data. So that's the first and foremost step, own your data. That's key. Data is going to be the new oil. Data is the new gold. What's missing are refineries sitting on top of the data to give outputs. So think of your CRM. Your CRM is data. Use AI. Salesforce has a system called Einstein. Use that to help do predictive analytics on your CRM, right? Those are some examples of things that you can start doing right now. Think of your end user. Think of your end user, who you might be, whether you're B2B, B2C, B2G, whatever you might be. You can definitely drive solutions by looking at machine learning if you have your data. Let your data tell you what to do. Use it for doing predictions. Okay, so that's step number one. On the generative AI side, like I said, there's no silver bullet yet, but there are tools. Canva with ChatGPT is a cheat code for marketing. For example, Copilot is getting better and better all the time. It's great. You have AI ChatGPT solutions integrated right into Excel, Word, PowerPoint. There's a PowerPoint program called Gamble, where you go and it'll help you create your slides for you. Your team probably spends a stupid amount of time creating stupid PowerPoint slides for meetings, right? Use these tools and it could cut that by 80%. That's time to get back. So it's own your data, look at the tools, but but if you do that, then what's going to happen? You're going to do one thing money can't do, which is you're going to start augmenting intelligence and buy time. So a task that maybe would have taken 6 hours now might take 16 minutes. A 16-minute task might take 60 seconds. Let me give you two examples. So I recently worked with a company in Europe. They're one of the oldest beauty brands in Europe. And in fact, one of the oldest beauty brands in the world. And they wanted to create a new product. I can't tell you what the product is because of NDAs, but they were trying for 3 years, Mahan, 3 years to come up with the right formula mix for this particular product. And they just couldn't get it to work. And they kept trying. And they knew that if they could figure this out, it would add $1 billion to their bottom line. That's how excited they were. So they kept trying. So I was there. I was in their board meeting. The board members were there. CEO was there. She was there. Our marketer was there. And then our chief scientist was there. And there were 70 of us in the room. And the board meeting is in the south of France. And so we had this meeting and this question came up and we pulled up ChatGPT, and this was in October of last year. So this was not in 2024, it's 2023. Okay. And now ChatGPT's gotten so much smarter. So we pulled out ChatGPT, we wrote a prompt, and learning how to write a prompt, being that storyteller in the prompt, is going to be a skill that CEOs and people have to develop. So data storytelling, prompt engineering in that little window is going to be so key. You're going to be only as good as your ability to write your story in that prompt, just bottom line. So the more information you can give them the prompt, the more you can use that prompt to learn learn what a prompt is. That's going to be the outcome is going to be great. So we wrote a prompt. It took about 16 minutes to write the prompt. And in 60 seconds, it spit out. Basically, the prompt was, hey, here's the problem. We're trying to do this product. We haven't been able to work. blah, blah, blah. That's what we tried, not tried, et cetera. It's about a 500 word prompt. Hit enter, 60 seconds to spit it out. Oh, you should try this and this. The chief scientist on the other end of the table literally fell out of his chair. Goes, oh my God, we never thought of it. Oh my God, we never thought of that. So I talked to them about 4 or 5 months ago, and they're in the process of testing that mix. And the CEO is telling me that they absolutely think it could work. And it took 15 minutes to figure it out. So the first thing my first point is that if you're a CEO, it's an amazing brainstorming part. It's an amazing brainstorming tool. And you have to get over the hang up that you're talking to an an AI algorithm on the other end. Pretend you're talking to a human. So one of the things I do is I actually give my chat GPT a name because it's now multimodal. It's on my phone. It talks to me and I can hold to a conversation with it. I do that all the time. I'll give you another example. There's a friend of mine. He's got a business in Mississippi and they do sheets. They make custom sheets for hospitals and nursing homes, whatever, right? So one of the things they got was a request saying, hey, we want you to make sheets that don't stick to bandages. And they didn't have anything and they didn't know what to do. So we asked ChatGPT what to do and it spit out a formula and it gave a great result. And so now they're in the process of doing that. It's going to help transform the company because a lot of the RFPs were coming in with this and they're one of the only firms that's going to have a solution for a period of time. So again, simple, easy things. There's another, I'll give you my third one. I have a friend of mine who's down in South Carolina and he was having some mental health issues. He's a CEO of a pretty big sized company. And I said, use ChatGPT as your therapist. I don't want to see a therapist. So then use ChatGPT. But what do you need? So I made him download the app. He opened it up. It's now multimodal. And he now, a couple times a week, will drive to work and just sit there and have a full two-way conversation with ChatGPT because he gave ChatGPT a persona of a therapist. I do it sometimes. I will give my ChatGPT right now, for example, I'm in the process of thinking about launching a new marketplace. And I actually say, okay, the persona I gave it was I want you to act like Steve Jobs, a combination of Steve Jobs meets Elon Musk meets the founder of Airbnb and help me with my marketplace idea, whatever, blah, 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 and ask me questions. So I now have a full two-way conversation. So it's like giving it that persona. If I want to solve the national debt here in DC, I can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want you to pretend that you are both Donald Trump and Barack Obama. And I want you to give me bipartisan solution on how to solve the national debt. And then, you can go back and forth and what about this? What about that? And my point is you can have a full now conversation with it. And the reason why this works is because it's been trained on every single parameter of the internet. Now, so that's the good news. So it's all about just experimenting, using, playing, trying. And once you get comfortable with it, you're fine. And if you're too worried about trying it from a business perspective, use it from a personal perspective. Use it to say, hey, I want to learn maybe you want to run a 5K. Give me the plans to run a 5K. Or tell ChatGPT, I live in DC, it's cold outside, whatever, it rains, here's whatever. This is where I am. I want to run a 5K, what type of shoe I should have, this is my weight, blah, blah, blah. You tell them, or family, you want to use it to plan a vacation. Help it to plan a vacation. You want to go to safari in Africa? Ask ChatGPT to give you a 5-day itinerary when it's for safari in Africa. So if you don't want to use it for business, you start to use it for personal and family. So just like you would Google or anything else. So those are just some examples of ways to start transforming lives.
Absolutely love those examples, Rajiv, specifically because what you did in those examples is taking a big business problem or challenge, whether with respect to new products or new opportunities, and using GPT in those instances to come up with additional thoughts, creative ideas, ways of approaching it. It's not a hypothetical interaction with GPT, which ends up being not as useful. It's actually looking at a business issue or problem and having, in this instance, ChatGPT or some prefer Claude as a cognitive sparring partner that can support you in that process.
Yeah, I think it's great. Look, I think you mentioned Claude. To me, I think long term, it's going to be if this was a horse race, I can tell you ChatGPT is going to be the lead horse for the first place. I think Gemini is going to be second, and Claude's going to be just a third in terms of the general GPTs, right? Then after that, you're going to have Meta's GPT. You're going to have Grok, which are primarily trained on Twitter and on all the Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp messages, right? So you have that. And then I think long term also, but then beyond that, I think every company's going to have their own LLMs, just like every company has search on their websites. I think long term, every company, every organization is going to have their own LLMs. I just think it has to go that way. I think you see private LLMs popping up. I think you're in the beltway, right? So pick whatever, any company in the beltway that are experts in the government space or whatever it might be. They'll just have their own LLM to be able to talk about the defense industry or whatever they want. So I just think that's the way it's going to head. But yeah, so short term, just start using it for yourselves to have that banter back and forth, and just get over the fact that you're talking to an AI. Just pretend you're talking to another executive or a friend who happens to be outsourced. That's it, and you're fine.
So, in doing that, you also talk about the fact that generative AI is, in essence, democratizing access to this advanced technology. How do you think that is going to impact organizations, whether the opportunity for startups, the shift in industry dynamics, how does this democratization of access to this very powerful technology, in your view, over the coming years, impact businesses and organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think you'll need as many people. Let's just use legal firms as an example. So if you're a law firm, and you've got 100 paralegals. Guess what? You might need only 30 or 40 long term. If you have 12 people on your marketing team, you might need only 5 or 6, right? If you're a startup, if you want to launch a new company, a new division, typically you might need 5 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 people in that division or a startup to get going and whatever. Oh, I'll tell you right now, there are people, kids somewhere, there's some 20 something year old sitting in his garage or in his mom and dad's garage somewhere, writing an AI program that will be $1 billion business with 2 employees. It's coming. It'll happen. That's where we are. So it's to me, I think I think you're going to see huge efficiency gains. I think you're going to see revenue gains by doing a lot of predictive analytics, being able to predict the future. If you use AI the right way, you'll be able to hopefully, you could possibly predict the future using past data. That's essentially the baseball model we talked about a little bit. And then it's about understanding and realizing at the end of the day, your efficiency gains are going to come from maybe not needing as many people and just automating more and more tasks. It's like what it was when the first PCs hit the desk, right? Back in the late 80s, early 90s, right? The first computers were, you know, x80s, 286 computers with a 40 megabyte external hard drive with no mouse, with a 13-inch monochrome monitor and a big, thick case. And it was an external dial-up modem, maybe, or whatever. And that thing was $7,000. People were scared then. Oh my God, I'm gonna lose my job at the computer. That led to the creation of whole new industries. Then you had the creation of the mobile revolution, the iPod revolution. That created whole new industries. Ubers, Airbnbs, these things exist primarily because of the iPod. Mobile gaming, for example, got transformed, right? The whole new industries were birthed from it. Whole industries got transformed with it. Then you had the social media revolution. And now we're just entering a new age of a new industrial age, which is going to be AI, robotics, IoT, and all those things mixed together. We're going to enter a world where in the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, we could cure cancer. We're going to enter a world where people who are blind can see, people who are deaf can talk, people who can't walk can walk. That's the world we're entering. And that's the type of world we're going to be into because the processing power is going to be there to handle it. The processing power wasn't there before. In the next, by 2030, our laptops and phones, like I had mentioned earlier, are going to be faster than, can process more data faster than the human brain, right? Google this week, sorry, it was maybe it was last week. It was last week. They launched their quantum computer. Maybe you saw that, right? That was crazy. So if anybody's listening, go Google quantum computer, and they gave it a problem that under normal processing would take 7 septillion years to solve, and this Google quantum computer solved it in 5 minutes. So imagine taking that and solving the problem of cancer or solving the problem of whatever, right? And having that help you figure that out. So that's where we're headed. And that's, that's where we're going.
It's
And we actually may end up in a world where with the work week is only 3.5 days. We actually may end up in a world where there's going to be so much abundance that everything's going to be available.
it is incredibly exciting for those who are aware of the potential and the opportunities and where things are headed. couple of challenges that I see in organizations, Rajiv, and would love to get your thoughts and perspectives on is with some CEOs or executives who are using it themselves, they're having a tough time bringing their teams along. In part, people are scared. In part, there is hidden use of these tools. There are concerns about ethics, plagiarism, you name it. I've heard all kinds of things within organizations for why people aren't embracing the technology. What are you seeing, and how would you suggest bringing people along with this transformation rather than having them resisting it?
I think it goes back to that earlier point I was making before, which is this has to be a top down strategy driven into the organization for the CEO. First, the CEO has to be bought in. If the CEO is not bought in, no one's going to be bought in. Your choices are you don't have to do anything, but you're going to be out of business in 5 years, or you start doing it now and you start affecting your competition. Those are your two choices. Pick one. Which one do you want? I would hope that people listening to this will say, you know what? We're going to take the path that says we're going to start now so we can go affect our competition versus our competition affecting us. So that's number one. Number two is it's about the marketing of what the tools can do for you. If people hear AI, they get stuck on the word artificial and they hear fake, they hear, oh, it's not real, whatever the case may be. It's not about artificial intelligence. It's about augmenting intelligence. It's about a tool that helps. Think about it. Excel is a tool. PowerPoint is a tool. Word is a tool. These are all tools that we've had that have helped make us more efficient in our day-to-day lives, especially work. So these are just going to be tools to help augment what you're doing. If you can take a task, like marketers are hired not to make PowerPoint presentations. Marketers are hired to drive revenue into the organization or salespeople or whatever the case might be, increase brand awareness or whatever that's what they're hired to do. HR people are not inherently hired to answer questions about what's in the HR workbook. They're hired to develop organizations. They're hired to make sure that they have development plans and growth and opportunities and help build a great culture for organizations. By using AI, by using tools like a ChatGPT or the Canvas or whatever else might be out there that you want to use, it's designed to make all those people more efficient in their day-to-day work so they can do those things that they're really paid to do. My point is that you may not need as many of them. So if you have, for example, have an open headcount in marketing, my challenge to you is don't fill that open headcount. Instead, make your team more efficient and give that word to the team there. And oh, by the way, then give them a small little increase to cover that quote unquote workload of taking that more responsibility because now that workload is going to AI, you're not hiring another person. So if you're going to hire another $100,000 a year person, if you went to your staff and said, okay, I'm not going to hire that $100,000 a year person. Instead, I'm going to let you use AI tools to get more efficient in your day-to-day job. And oh, by the way, I'm going to give you from across the five of you, I'm going to give each of you a $6,000 raise, which is 30,000 of that 100,000. Everybody wins, right? And so but it's also about making sure that people understand the case study, sending them to conferences, making them aware. My company, I pay for the tool. I pay for ChatGPT for the company. I think to me, it's one of the best investments I make because it forces them to learn. So that's where we are.
So, for the audience to follow your work, Rajiv, find out more from you, where would you send them to?
So the book, AI Made Simple on Amazon is a great place to get the book. Follow me on LinkedIn. By the way, there's a lot of Rajeev Kapurs. It's like John Smith in India, right? Rajeev Kapoor is a very common name. So just make sure you find the right one. I've got a nice little banner with my book on it, and I'm the CEO of a company called 1105 Media. So check it out.
We will put the book and a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes as well. Really appreciate the conversation and you throwing down a challenge for all of us, including with the great examples of the use of the technology. Thank you so much for the conversation, Rajiv Kapoor.
Thank you, my friend.